Welcome to Parenting Differently, where we leave behind the old way of parenting and allow the gifts of motherhood of parenthood to raise us. Different to how society says, perhaps different to how we were raised, and maybe even different to how we expected, just different. I'm your host, Anya, and I came to parenting as a fairly strict British nanny and thought this was going to be easy, and it was quite a shock that it wasn't, that my children did not follow the plan. I'm a yogi, a parenting coach, and a mum of two kids that are big now, 19 and 23. And I can't tell you, I think you could see how excited I am for my first guest of this year. I'm beyond excited to welcome somebody I have admired, I have kind of stalked, I have learned so much from about really truly being who I am, the goddess of all goddesses, international bestseller, self-made multimillionaire, just an incredible lady, mentor to so many, the billions, I think it's billions now, billions and billions of people. Welcome, Leonie Dawson.
Oh, I knew you were adorable human. And I love like the motto of your show too. Like it's just like, yes, parenting, like it might be different from how others are doing it. And it can absolutely change your soul and
Yeah.
shift you. It's just a beautiful thing. And you know, I'm so passionate about that. So
Yes.
I'm like, yes, let's get in.
Let's get in there. Okay, so the first question I ask, and it kind of feels repetitive, but I think you'll take it elsewhere. Um, I ask everybody, who are you and who are you parenting?
Mm. Oh, that's delicious. I am a creative human. I just love to make things and I love to witness beauty and I like to live very quiet and gentle life. I have been diagnosed as being on the autistic spectrum, but only found out, like, got diagnosed at the age of 38. But it just made everything make sense in my life. Um, I am parenting two beautiful humans, a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old. And um, they are just scrumptious humans. They are sensitive and they are sweet and they are brave and they are kind and they're creative. And I just adore them. And I feel so lucky. And when I put them to bed every night, I say, thank you so much for choosing me. I'm so
Oh,
lucky.
yeah, yeah. Ooh, that gave me the chills. Yes, yeah. So, before becoming a parent,
Mhm.
um, your expectations of it and what you thought it would be to how it actually is that similar? Quite different?
Well, I don't think anybody really knows what it's going to be
No.
like. They're like, just in terms of sheer like woman hours that you put into it
Yeah,
and
commitment.
how it's going to call upon you even when you're not up to it,
Yes.
when you're exhausted and when you haven't had any sleep and when your own mental health is just like um in terms of like how I parent, it's pretty much how I thought I would parent.
Okay.
Um, I started reading parenting books. I think I was about 22. Um, I
Nighttime
um,
stand on your nighttime stand.
yes, yeah, I was just prepping, just prepping. And I didn't have kids for another 5 years. Like we weren't actively trying to have kids. I just wanted to prep myself. So I had already known that I would choose something that was more attachment parenting and look at non-traditional schooling, whether that would be unschooling or Steiner or Montessori or
Mhm.
whatever. So yeah, it's like I stayed true to that.
Good. Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, in terms of with your children, and obviously you say I'm not answering anything I ask you that you're like, hell no. Um, what from your childhood did your kids help you or either bring to light or to help you shed? Is there
Mm.
something there?
You're going to have to edit out the pause on this one because that's
No,
such a
no,
deep
it is. I
question.
know. I just threw it in there.
Yeah, no, I love it. I want to make sure that I do justice to it. I think like when we started learning the basics of attachment parenting, connection parenting, how to communicate in a way that's empathetic, it really kind of makes you think, oh, like it probably would have been nicer to be raised this way. It would have been nicer to have better options around schooling because we didn't really have options in the small country town. And in a lot of ways, I just wish that I was homeschooled instead. Yeah, it's sort of brought to light like, oh, this could have been a nicer childhood for me. Like this, it could have been nicer.
Right. Okay. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then the other side, what from your childhood, because we know all of that stuff comes up as we are raising the next generation, came through that you're like, oh, I want that for my child. I want that too. That was so cool. I want that too.
Yeah, I'm really grateful. My mum was very nurturing of creativity, and we always had an art table set up, and she made sure that we, like, whatever kind of art lessons we want, she would pay for it, even though we really didn't have any money. I remember at one point she bought a guitar for me because I wanted to learn how to play guitar. And it was the last $100 that she had in the bank. And she said, I just really wasn't sure how we were going to pay for groceries that week, but I knew something would come along. And like, spoiler alert, turns out I'm actually like not a musician whatsoever. And I'm like very terrible at music. But I just appreciate that she put such a value on creativity and really invested in it and thought it was a great thing to do.
Yeah, and it sounds like she really like heard you, right? So she heard what your wishes. Kids throw out, oh, I want a puppy, oh, I wanted this, and she's like, oh, this would add to our Leonie.
Yeah, and like, well, I was kind of one of 5, and so I think it was she really wanted creativity as a as an important part of all of us. So if she was always just throwing stuff out in front of us, just like, and this, would this be the thing? And so a couple of my siblings were musical, and quite gifted at that. And I tended to go more into the artsy stuff.
No kidding.
And I appreciate that. And I also appreciate, like, she realized, like, I was exceptionally shy as a child, and likely because of being on the autistic spectrum. And she enrolled me in drama, and drama was really useful for me. And I think it probably shows through in my personality quite a bit. Like, oh, that's funny. You developed like your social skills through drama. What a surprise.
What a shock.
Wow, tell me more.
Especially doing some of your lovely courses. Yeah, I can see that side in there. Now, with your husband, how do you guys handle, and we don't have to go into his story or anything, but like parenting differences? Or how do you feel you handle parenting differences?
Oh, we don't really have many.
No.
I'm grateful for that. He knows how passionate I am about these things.
Okay.
He knows that it's very passionate, and I have, ranted to him effectively for hours on end since, I was very young. We've been together since I was 18.
Right.
And I was very opinionated about what was going to happen. And also, luckily, my husband ended up working in a government agency with other men, and it was kind of a law enforcement agency. Like, it was uniformed and kind of, but the most amazing thing was that he was in with all these other men, and all of them had hippie wives, and all of them parented differently. And so when I became pregnant for the first time, they just gave him such exceptional advice. They were like,
Oh,
when you're giving birth, like most of them were home birthers. They were like, you've just got to be there for her and hold the space. That's our job as the men. You've got
my
to hold the
gosh.
babies. Just co-sleep. You'll get more sleep that way, and just help her when she's breastfeeding. It takes so much time. Just feed her all the time.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I know it was the greatest, and I feel so grateful for those men, and well, especially for their wives who'd
Yes.
educated them. And
Yes,
so
yes.
they would then recruit the next generation of attachment parenting dads. And they were all homeschoolers. They went to Steiner schools.
Oh,
So like that was actually, my husband knew I was very passionate about this, and he also was getting social proof that this is the way that you actually do that.
that is phenomenal. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Very much
I feel
so.
very lucky. I feel very
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah.
And it
But
was hilarious because these men, like kind of like big burly men in kind of law enforcement uniform. He wasn't in the police, but in
yeah.
a law enforcement government agency, all in uniform, and walking down the street together, talking about how to support their wives during home birth. Like, it was beautiful.
That's like changing the world right there, right? Changing how the
Yeah,
next is fantastic. Oh my
magical.
gosh. Yes, yes, definitely. And when you do mess up, I'm assuming you occasionally mess up as a parent.
Right. Yeah, of
Just
course.
the odd one time. How do you go about? We all know about mum guilt, mum shame. It just seeps right
Mm.
in there. I'm wondering if you have some suggestions or how you've dealt with for yourself and then to your child. Like when you
Right.
think like that was not called for.
Yeah, like you're like, that wasn't a cute look. And then sometimes my husband's like, go back. No, that's not okay, honey.
Oh,
And
good.
um I like it. First and foremost, it's just like, of course I was feeling that way.
Mm.
Of course I am losing. I will, at some points the rope will break and I will snap. Um, and that's a part of being a mum. So it's
Mm.
like instant forgiveness. And I think, we empathize with our kids, when they come to us and they're like, ugh, like, of course you feel that way, honey. Of course. Like,
Mm.
you're feeling exhausted. You've been out all day. You went swimming. You're feeling a little bit sunburnt. You're hungry. You're tired. It doesn't feel good. That sucks. Of course. Of course you're
Mm.
grumpy. And you've got to do that same empathy with yourself. Like, honey, of course you're feeling grumpy. Like, the kids have been asking questions from sun up to sundown. Like, and you haven't had a moment to scratch yourself, and it's been difficult to even get to the toilet today. Like, of course, at some point you're just gonna be like, have a
Right.
little synapse break.
Yes.
So, like, instant forgiveness of myself. And it's also not what I want to do all the time. So I
Mm-hmm.
have to think, instead of berating myself, what I actually have to think is like, oh, how can I like stop this situation before I do snap? How can I give
Oh,
myself more
that's,
cushioning? How can I
mm-hmm.
like give myself some more spaciousness? How can I actually just say to my kids, actually, when I'm in the toilet, I don't want you to knock on the toilet. Like, I don't want you to knock on the door. You're actually old enough now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to breastfeed while I sit on the toilet anymore. I just want you to just give mama some space and some head time, and then we'll all be groovy. We'll all be happy together.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love
And so then like, once I've gone, it's okay, I did that. It's understandable.
it.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to keep doing it. How can I build in the spaciousness? And then I need to rectify with the kids as well. So it's really simple. I just say, hey guys, I know I was really cranky there and I yelled, and that's not okay. We don't do that in this family. I'm sorry. I was feeling exhausted. And I'm going to try really hard not to do that again. And they say, oh, okay, mum. And
Yeah.
it's, and they know that I mean that. And they know that
Yes.
I
Oh yeah.
do try very hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's stuff is fantastic because it really just opens. We're not perfect. We shouldn't be perfect
Mm.
yet. Society is kind of saying we should be. We should be aware of the being perfect, especially as parents that we've never done before. We should
Mm.
know. So that's yeah. Just teaching them you're who you are. That's
Yeah.
great.
And look, here's the thing, like, one of my best friends has kids who are now adults and having
Mm-hmm.
their own babies. And it's so great to have older parents as friends when you're a newborn, like when you've got newborns and
Mm.
toddlers and young ones, because they have a much more holistic perspective of life. and they've been through some shit, man. Like they have been through, they've been through the war zones of all the different ages. And so they're much more relaxed about it. And she gave me 2 bits of advice. She said, first, if you can get your kids to 18 and they haven't ended up in juvie, right, so juvenile prison,
Yeah, you're
right,
like, you're doing good.
you are a success. You are a success as a parent. And I think that's, and then she says, lower your expectations, lower them and lower them further. And last of all, she said, if you are the perfect parent and you throw no grit into the oyster to form the pearl, they're going to have nothing to talk about in therapy later. Like there's like, you do have to be a human because they're going to have something to work with in therapy. And she'd say this to her teenage boys as well. She would say, look, honey, like I'm trying my very hardest, but I do need to give you some fodder for therapy years because that's going to really help you bloom and thrive as a human.
There you go. Absolutely, right? Real life is in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my next one, let me find a politer way to say this.
Oh, no, don't be polite.
Don't be polite. I was trying to say, let's say this nicely. Well, you've kind of gone over some of it as we speak, but how do you prevent, because this was a big one for me, how do I prevent my stuff, my shit, from being on them? Right? Like, does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
how
of course.
do I stop that?
Well, I take my role as like fixing my own shit really seriously.
Yeah.
So, I've done 10 years of like intensive therapy. I'm constantly doing personal development to try and heal and move past various parts of myself. And I feel really proud of myself for the chains that I have broken because there's things that I've done that none of my ancestors throughout history have done, and not on a career level, but on a,
No, we're not.
emotional and a
Yeah.
psychological level and on a parenting level. So like I remember one therapist saying to me, Leonie, like you've broken the chain of this certain kind of behavior that has been going through your families for generations upon generations. We don't know where, like, if it's always been there or not. And so you should just feel exceedingly proud that you've broken those particular chains. And I am. And here's the thing, I'm not actually going to be like a fully formed, like enlightened being as a parent. I'm going to do the best I can to heal my own stuff for myself, for my children, and for their children. That like they're not going to have to think about a whole bunch of shit that I had to think about.
Right. Yeah. Wow. So I don't want to keep you too long. I'm just going.
No, that's fine. I do want to say like one of the big things I had to fix was like a martyr, like martyr energy, because a lot of mums hold this, of course.
Oh, God, yeah.
But I didn't want to be a martyr for my kids.
It doesn't sit right? It doesn't even sit right when you're working on stuff. You realize like, well,
no. And I had a martyr for a mum, and it actually, I appreciate how much she gave. However, it didn't actually help me when it came to having my own children. In fact, it broke me. And it broke me significantly because that was that internal expectation of mine is like, well, this is how it's always been done. And this is the expectation. And this is what mothering looks like. And I had to learn that being a martyr actually isn't a healthy way of being. And it's not a healthy thing to model for my children at all. So my children don't have a martyr as a mother. They don't. They have a mum who looks after themselves and has a pretty great time. I spend a lot of time with my kids still. Like I'm very present. I only work 10 hours a week, so I can be very present with them. I homeschool for 3 years, but I'm still going to take like really good care of myself.
Yeah. And I fully relate. And what I think many people are not realizing is that you don't have to teach them how to do their own self-care or make them feel special, because you're doing it. They see it. They
Mm.
witness that, hey, my mum has her own life. Look at that. Hey, my mum does things she loves. And you know, like that's, to me, that's the changing, right? That's
Yeah.
making the difference.
Yeah. My kids know that every weekend afternoon, like, come like after midday, all bets are off. Mum, it's no longer parenting. So I have solo mama retreats, and I go into bed, I read books, I do e-courses in bed, and I do art journaling, and like they're welcome to like come in and say hi, and sometimes they come and hang out with me, but mostly they're just like off in their own world doing something enjoy, like, they're usually playing with each other, playing Lego, or I'll say, yeah, sure, go have some screen time. I don't care. Like I'm on retreat.
That's right. Mummy's checked out. She's done her
I was
card.
bye.
Yeah.
Like, go play Minecraft with your dad. Like, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done. And if
Mm.
I don't have one afternoon at least a week where I do that for a few hours, like I'm running on like I'm just running
Mm.
on steam the
Yeah.
rest of the week. And when I do have that, and I have that to look forward to every week, I can give from that,
Yeah.
overflowing well, and I'm just so much happier and more present.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Hardest part of mothering. Hardest
Oh,
part.
just the time. Like, it's a lot of
It's
time. A lot of time. It's just a lot.
I really think that's it. That's it exactly.
If there was less time involved,
We'd like it more.
yeah. If it was like a special treat instead of just like a everyday marathon through the day and through the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And especially like in the early years when like you have to do
Mm.
nighttime parenting as well.
God.
Ew. Ew, 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 ew.
Yes.
It's very taxing, very taxing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where self-care comes in even even more importantly.
More.
And I
Yeah.
do think as well, like the attachment, it's really hard in the early years, like doing
Mm-hmm.
attachment and
Mm-hmm.
connection parenting, but it just means that you can be a lot slacker in the later years.
There you go. That's right. And you know what? Even when they're teenagers, it's still going to have the benefit.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
it's great now. Like my kids are just like pretty tickety boo, because of like the hard investment years. Like now it's just paying off. There,
yeah.
yeah.
All right. All right. And any advice that you would tell your younger self, like when you first became mummy? Any advice
Oh,
you would give yourself
so
now?
firstly, I don't want you to do it the way that your mum did it. I want you to do it in a way that
Mm.
is right for you and for your soul and for your body, because it's actually different and it's a sovereign and it's unique and it's individual and it has its own needs and its own joys that need to be cultivated. Um,
Gosh, where were you?
and
Where were you when 23 years ago? I would have needed that in my head. That's like, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
mhm, mhm. Um, and that you don't like attachment parenting is great. However, you actually do need to detach and go have some time by yourself. Otherwise, your mental health will fail colossally. Like it will really fuck up
Yeah.
quite a lot.
Yeah.
So just build in that time and take it absolutely guilt free, because you're going to be a better mama and a better human for it.
Mm.
And if you don't, you're just going to end up like crying on the kitchen floor every night. And that's not the kind of life that you
No.
want, and you don't want your kids to see that.
No. No, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So last question, then I'll
Mm.
let you go because you're just so marvelous. Um, how much do you listen to your own intuition? It seems a bit like as to, okay, let me phrase that differently. Both kids, different likes, dislikes, da la la la. In parenting them, I'm assuming there's some shift into what this person needs and that person needs, all individual. How much is your gut involved in those points and those decisions?
I mean, it runs it really does kind of run the show. I will say, however, in our particular marriage, my husband's gut actually takes precedence over mine. um,
Tell me
and
more.
my husband is a beautiful human, and he is deeply intuitive and very, very sensitive, far more than me. And I would classify myself as highly sensitive. And he has always had an enormous intuitive gift. And sometimes, like, when I think something's right, absolutely right, um, he'll come in and say, actually, Leonie, like, this is what I'm feeling right now. Like, one, you are pushing yourself too hard, and that you are going to, like, have a mental health break if we don't change course. This isn't healthy for our family. So he's a good moderator on that part, because I
Okay.
definitely just keep on pushing
Right.
myself, and I'm a very pushy kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll just pull me up on my behavior. He'll also say to me, no, I've had to think about it, and I really feel like it's important for us to do this for this child, or we need to do this for this child. And he sees things that I don't see.
Right.
And I really appreciate that. And I after 20 years, I absolutely honor his gut instinct.
That's awesome to have a partner to go on this parenting journey with. That you each take a role, don't you? You kind of mix it up in different times, but that's fantastic.
Yeah. So gut instinct, but if you've got a really sensitive and intuitive husband, then they're probably also valued, and in my case, will take precedence over my gut.
Leonie, thank you so much. I really, really, this has been a pure joy. Me to interview Leonie on parenting has been on my vision board there for over 3 years. Came out, and then I didn't have this. And I was like, when Zita said yes, or you said yes, I was like, okay, I need a thing so that I can interview her on. And so thank you. Thank you so much.
Bless you. Thank you, Anya.
Wonderful. And all the listeners, I should go that way. I will have all of her links, everything when we put this out, all her links will be there. You just need to put Leonie Dawson into your search, and fantastic and magical things will happen.
It's true. It really will happen. And just go to the free shit page on my website. It is called Free Shit. Just click on free shit, and all the free shit I've created over the years about business and marketing and creativity. And there's 200-page coloring books you can download and print for free as well. Like, there's meditations on there. There's little gratitude journals that you can print. Like, there's just so much shit that I've made, and I'm like, it's so fun. Hi, the Go Getter Workbooks.
Of course. There you go. Fantastic. So thank you so much. I will definitely be in touch, and I really honor your time. Thank you.
Oh, bless you. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for leading this important conversation.
Thank you.